Hey, welcome back to Grit Gym. You might notice some differences in the office. Well, just really shelves, but the floor is different. Everything's different in here. We had to do every show from the gym this week, but now you're back in the office, and today we have kind of a smorgasbord of topics coming at you. But first decoration up there is the mugs. Other than that, what I really wanted to show you guys some of the new shirts that we had. We got these out for. We wanted to kind of go with Mother's Day. We have some coming out for Father's Day too that are going to be a little bit different. But we have more Lift Like a Girl shirts, only they're in a tank. You can grab these at the Grit Gym site, just gritgym.com, and go to the store and pick those up. I'm looking for, we had the Grit Gym, Lift Like a Girl. Lift Like a Girl. I got to find the right one here. This is the one that we really wanted to show off to people. Lift Like a Mom. We have a ton of moms in Grit Gym that are just super strong. My big goal with everybody thinks that I'm talking about dudes when I say this. I'm not talking about guys when I say this. I'm not talking about guys when I come in on and say that you should be able to deadlift 1.5 times your body weight off of the floor within the first year of you training at Grit Gym. And for the majority, like anybody who comes consistently gets there. It is not something that, oh, I don't have the genetics to do that. There could be some things like maybe you have a spine that doesn't tolerate shear stress very well, so we wouldn't be able to deadlift at all or very often. But that should be for any person without any serious health concern walking into a gym. You should be able to do 1.5 times your body weight within that first year. That should be your milestone. That should be your thing. That should be your 4-minute mile. And then for the guys and for the girls, if they wanted to wear this, we had Product of a Strong Female. Okay, this is our shirts that came out. You guys saw me on one of the shows last week where I wore my mom lifts more than your trainer, which is probably accurate for most trainers because my mom is super fucking strong. She wanted to deadlift 260 pounds before her 60th birthday. She's worked out with me for about 6 years. Or 6 years, but there's so many sixes going on there. She was worked out with me since 2008, 10 years. 10 years she's been working out with me. You can go back and watch her video. I think her video was powerful too. She talked a lot about determination and her mindset going into just about everything. Janet and I are like the same person in many, many, many ways. Like when we lived together, it was just like clash. It was like when the Hulk hit Superman, or what happens when an immovable force, what is it? An unstoppable force meets an immovable object. And that's actually a riddle. And I didn't realize that was a riddle for the longest time. And if you think about it and you really get clear, I'll tell you the end. I'll tell you at the end of the video, if you guys stick around, I'll tell you what it is. Let me make a note. The answer to the riddle. And if you know the answer to the riddle, go ahead and throw it in the bottom of into the comments. Because I would be curious if you guys can come up with it. What happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object? And that was a lot the case. Janet and I living together, but today we kind of have a smorgasbord. I didn't really. I have so much going on right now. I'm about to finish. I'm doing the last edit of the book right now. There's a few things that I need to add in here to the Cost of Courage, and we'll be able to have that out. And so that's almost done. I'm really excited about it. And we have some stuff going on at the gym, and we're really in the midst of some really cool new things that I'm excited about. But what you guys might not know about me is I have literally stacks of Post-its. I mean, everywhere. I have notebooks just full. I have constantly am writing stuff down. I have notebooks everywhere. They're full. I have almost half of a bookshelf full of notebooks. I actually had to start putting them down below into different areas of notebooks that I've been keeping I've been keeping them since I was a teenager. I've been keeping them since high school. They're really interesting, but I have these ideas. I just have to write them down. I have to get them out of my head because I'm such an obsessive that if I don't write these down, I will go crazy because it's the only thing I'll be able to think about until I get it out of my brain. Ask Rachel, ask her how often I'll, in the middle of the night, be like, hey, I gotta get up, I gotta get out of bed. And she'll be like, what's the matter? And I'll be like, nothing, I'll be right back. Anyway, and I'll come in here and I'll write for like a half an hour. I just have to get the idea out of my brain. But so today I'm just gonna go through, I was going through some of these and I was like, I'm just gonna do a show where it's like, pick a card. I'm just going to talk about that topic. And so I'm just going to flip through some of these. And we're going to talk about some of the things that might have been going through my head while I was reading them. So, Okay, so this one, people are terrified of coming in here being Grit Gym, but I guarantee you that this is what you need to do. And then it says, lean into the fear, it is a guide. So I think this is a really powerful thing, actually. This is an idea that comes across my mind where I haven't quite figured out how to communicate it to people just in one really easy sentence. But I really think the things that you are scared of are almost always the things that you need to explore. So if you're afraid to go into a gym, there is something going on there. There's something in that gym that you want. There's something there. And it's just like, I'm afraid of going and applying for that job. I'm afraid of going and talking to that girl or that guy. I'm afraid of trying out this new thing. Well, that's a guide. Like, you should use that. Like, if you're afraid to do that thing, there's something out there in that space that you have, maybe you need to explore. Maybe you need to lean into it. I know this, for me personally, is I don't really like using the phone. I don't really like calling people after, like, let's say they come in for a strategy session. They're like, it's too expensive, or I don't know if I'll have the time, or this or that and this or that. And this is typically what people do when they're not sure of something. And that's my fault. That's something that I did along the way that didn't get them to believe in themselves enough to actually take the chance on them. And that's the question of, like, if you don't get them in there, what happens? Well, like, that's something that bugs me. So I know that I need to follow up with them in a week. I know that I need to get it on the phone and call them, but it's so hard for me to do because I've already got hit with the rejection once, right? And I'm just like, oh shit, I know I need to call. So I'll go and get a cup of coffee, and then I'll go find something else to do, and then I'll go find something else to do. And I know that I need to make a call, and it would just be easier if I didn't give dread that time to expand, didn't give fear that time to really cram out and consume my day. Instead, I just made the call right then, right? So it's that way with you too. So, like, meditation is a really easy thing that I know that people avoid. I know you do it because I do it. And I actually even really enjoy my meditation time, but I know that I go in there and I challenge certain things in my brain, and it really gets to be a challenging thing to do your meditation because you find other things to do. Oh, I got to go do this now. Oh, I got to do that now. Oh, I got to do this. I'm going to procrastinate out that thing that is actually going to make me more productive, more efficient, and more joyful in the things that I do have to do. So fear is a guide. The things that you are avoiding are, for some reason, you're a little afraid of those things. And the fear of those things is something to look at, to get curious about, to be like, why am I afraid of that? Why would I be afraid of that thing? What is going on there? And that little curiosity in that one moment is powerful. I don't think people give credit to the curiosity of how powerful that really is in that moment. Just like if you can't stop smoking or you can't stop eating, maybe stop and think about, even though, like, I eat because I'm unhappy and I'm unhappy because I eat, right? The fat bastard quote from Austin Powers. The thing is, like, if you were curious in that moment and you said, does this actually make me feel good? No. Like, if you're smoking, it's like, no, this actually tastes like shit and it smells awful. No, nothing about this feels good. Then why am I doing it? That little bit of curiosity can be very powerful, but it's a guide, and it's really easy to avoid. This is another, so that's one. We could do this all day, I guarantee you, but here's another one. Oh, this is one that we did a sort of a version of this the other day on the show. We talked about attention deficit disorder. But it says, the note says, you're always focused. Doctors used to tell me that ADD means I'm easily distracted. I wasn't distracted. I was focused on a priority that was different than the teacher's, and the teacher's priority was writing boring crap on the board. But I think that's accurate. I think you are always focused. It's not a matter of, am I distracted? You do not get distracted. Distraction is what you call the thing that is not the priority at hand. You just happen to be focused on something else. Like, if all you can hear, if it's in a quiet room and all you can hear is the click, 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 click of the clock, and you call that a distraction from what you're trying to do, no, you're focused on the click and not focused on the priority. So I think you got to get really clear on focusing on the priority at hand. You're always focused. Like, having attention deficit disorder, I have a tough time calling it a disorder in the first place, but to stay on task, I was not distracted. I was focused on things that weren't the doctor's priority, weren't my parents' priority, weren't the teacher's priority. They were my priority. I just wanted to go to recess. you know? So you're always focused. All right, here's another one. And they're written on like random things too, and I keep them, and I usually put them into Evernote later. I type them out, but I just haven't done it in a while. But demons are as real as you make them. The trouble isn't the devil. You're the one doing what he says. All right, so you're those things in your life that are troublesome, right? The demons, the things that you call the demons, like the demons inside me. Well, they're only as real as you make them in your mind. So you have more power than you probably give yourself credit. The demons are only as real as you make them. They don't have to be real. If you believe in superstition and the black cat crosses your path on the way home from work, and then you get home and you stub your toe, and then somebody eats the food that you wanted in the fridge, and then something else bad happens. Who stubbed their toe? Who didn't label their food and say, don't eat this? Like whose responsibility, who has power within that? The demons are only as real as you make them. And the trouble isn't the devil putting these things in your way to tempt you. The trouble is that you're the one doing what he says. You don't have to take, like when we take into consideration addiction, and we're like, you have no power over addiction. No, you don't. Yes, you do. You have power. There's too many to point at, to say like this person overcame it, this person overcame it, this person overcame it, this person overcame it. You have power. And some people say that I sound like I'm being harsh when I talk about addiction. Well, what's the alternative? That they just succumb to this like powerless state for the rest of their lives? Like that sounds a lot more harsh than me saying you have power over this thing and you can take responsibility for it if you have the guts. What's another one? How you lift it is more important than how much you lift. Yeah, when you do lifts, when you're lifting weights, a lot of people think it's just like how much weight you put on the bar, how much weight you put on the bar, how much weight you put on the bar. And I think they think when I say that I want to get everybody, female, male, to 1.5 times their body weight in a deadlift within the first year, I think they think that we're just gonna force it down their throat. We're just gonna work our asses off. And no, we're gonna work smart. We're gonna work very, very, very smart. And we're not gonna try to run a marathon every day to be able to run a marathon well. We're going to look at it and we're going to train in a way that actually coaxes the body along, so that you can lift with really good technique. Like I could go probably deadlift around 500 pounds today, just on any given day, just deadlift 500 pounds. I think that's an easy, but I guarantee you my form will break down somewhere around 470 pounds. It'll start to break down, and I'll start to use more of my low back. I'll start to crouch a little bit more, and I won't use my glutes to be the driver out of the bottom of the hole. So I'll be putting a little bit more damage on my spine and some other things, and I won't be lifting with integrity. So you have to think about that. And if I would, instead of going up into that 450, 470, 500 that I could get to, I stay down at the 275, 315, 365 range, so I can practice in that medium. And then later on, weeks later, because I did that, it pays me dividends later, because then I can deadlift 500 without putting strain on my body. This is probably the biggest difference between a professional and an amateur, and it's something that basically like hardly any of the fitness industry actually understands. They just are like, nope, just go hard, go hard, go hard, and that's cardio. If you're limiting your recovery, that we need to look at that as a form of cardio, not a form of strength training. How about this one? Obesity doesn't take your life when you die. It takes your life now because you can't live it. So I hope that resonates with somebody, but if you're thinking of health and you're thinking of exercise, mindset, nutrition, recovery, why did we even come up with that as a solution? And what was the solution for? Well, the solution was for obesity. The solution was for injury. The solution was the experience of your life that you are having. And the reality is everybody gets to die. No matter what, everybody gets to die. And everybody thinks that's like a morbid thing. No, that's a beautiful thing. That's a wonderful thing. It puts a finite amount of time on this right here. So this moment is absolutely, like, not to get all spiritual on you, but this moment is amazing. It is grateful. It is just boundless beauty coming from this very moment if you're willing to live it. And the thing is, everybody gets to die. Not everybody gets to live. not everybody truly gets to live because they don't have the guts to push past what the status quo message is. And obesity doesn't take your life when you die. Obesity takes away from your life now, because you can't run and do the things that you need to do. You can't play with your kids the way that you want to play with your kids. You can't do the things that you want to do. You can't, even things like to be real, I don't know, it would be like TMI or anything, whatever you want to call it, but you couldn't have sex the way that you wanted to have sex. And people are like, oh, well, he's talking about sex. That's a big part of your life. It's a pretty enjoyable thing. You couldn't feel good from the food that you do eat the way that you would want to eat it. Obesity doesn't take your life when you die. It takes your life now, because you can't live it the way that you want to live it. And to me, like this is like on a spiritual level, the experience that you do get to have in this life is a big deal. If you think about, where were you before you were born? Okay, well, that's a pretty trippy idea. Where are you going after you die is one that you've probably thought about, but where were you before you were born? You're going back to the same place. And if you came from everything and you're going back to nothing, then did you come from nothing and are going back to everything? I don't know what the answers are, but I think that there's some real mind-bending stuff to really try to expand your mind through. When you think of the vastness of the universe and how big this thing is and how small of a little tiny microcosm we are in it, it's like, what are we even here for? I think that you're here to experience this life. I think that's it, the whole deal. You are just here for the experience of this life. So I think it's very important to get very, very, very clear on what kind of life you really do want to have, and how are you spending it? Who are you spending it with? Health, wealth, relationships, time. You need to coach for every single one of those, because this is finite. You're only going to have so much of this. But anyway, I could talk about that subject for a really long time, and I'm pretty sure that people, if I go any further, everybody's going to be like, wow, more of a whack job than I really thought. This was a good one. This is something that this was based off of so better to have a lot of questions with no answers than a lot of answers with no questions. When I was when I was a coach at Iowa State, when I was working with the football team at Iowa State, the head coach there, he had a different way of saying this. It was much more crude, and he didn't curse, but it was just like in your face, clear, to the point. But a lot of the players, they would kind of have a lot of answers and never have any questions. It was like an ego thing. And I would much rather, I'm an extremely curious person. Even if I want to get my point across, I'll probably do it with questions. Because it's just easier to let the person get to where they want to, where they're thinking of going. But it's way better, like in any situation, it's way better to have a lot of questions with no answers in any situation than it is to have a lot of answers with no questions. Because if you're in a scenario where there's a lot of, where you have all the answers, that's like, oh shit, I don't know where to go to get my questions answered. You don't have it, right? But if you have a lot of questions with no answers, we can go and get that information and bring it back. What is this one? If you are not If you are not where you want to be, it is because of the information you are operating with. You're operating on the wrong information. So health, wealth, relationships, time, I guarantee you, there's so much garbage health information out there in the world right now that I guarantee you that if you're not where you want to be in the health world, if you're not where your brain, where your mind wants to be, if you're not where your exercise wants to be, if you're not where your nutrition needs to be, if you're not where your recovery needs to be, if you're not sleeping the way that you want to sleep, you're operating with the wrong information. If you are not eating the way that gives you the kind of abs that you want, the kind of body that you want, the gut health that you want, the feel good that you want, the mental power that you want, you are operating on the wrong information. If you are in the mindset category, everybody thinks they know a shitload about mindset. I did too, and I had read dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of books on psych, these self-development books, just like tons of them. And then I got a coach, and it was like, what I thought I knew and what I know now are totally two very different things. Now I'm much more to a point, I think this is the way with anything. I know that I get like this with strength and conditioning. The more I know, the more I realize I do not understand. I think we all do this. We all overestimate how much effort, or overestimate how much we think we know, and we underestimate how well we actually need to understand that thing be great at it. So if you're not where you want to be, it's because you're operating with the wrong information. Oh, this one starts out with climate change, so this will be interesting. So it says climate change. For instance, if you could prove that air population increases, okay, so it's about communication and about how. All right, so if you could prove that air population increases erectile dysfunction, ... more guys will take action on like environmentalism. If you can get sufficient data showing little girls' health ramifications, which is actually a real thing, because little girls are getting, it's a condition where girls get their period really early in life. I forget what it's called off the top of my head, but basically they get their period at like 5, 6, 7 years old, and it's really sad. And it's because, and we really do have pretty decent data showing, compelling data. I don't think it's conclusive yet, but compelling data that would, it definitely seems like pollution in our food, pollution in the air, pollution in our water is not helping these little girls not have this condition, and the numbers are actually stacking up a lot more. I forget what they were, but it used to happen in like a very small percentage of females. It was like 1%, and now it's creeping up, and I'm pretty sure it's in the 20s now. But anyway, if you could show, like, this is a communication thing. It's like if you could do this and give the, okay, but anyway, but and it says, but no one is jumping 50 years ahead except those looking for a cause to feel significant. Okay, so this is going a lot of different directions, but the point of the climate change things, for one, the people who think that the climate isn't changing that's an insane. You don't get to not change. Everything is going to change over time. Since this video started, we have all changed. Rocks have eroded, wind has blown, streams have moved. Like everything changes all the time, no matter what. You are now 3 minutes older than you were 3 minutes ago. So change is going to happen. The question, I think, is where is is climate change speeding up or slowing down? And this is bound to happen anyway because change is constant. So the rate at which climates would change too. And is it are humans having an effect on it? We've only been using fossil fuels for like 100 years or something like that. So like I can totally understand why people could be skeptic of human effect on climate change, but the people that are jumping 50 years into the future with the significant things, I think a lot of people look for causes to feel really significant about, so that their life has meaning, which is totally fine with me. I don't care. You want to humans do desire to feel significant. You put a gun in somebody's. I think that's part of the reason that you're seeing some of this stuff with with violence. You put a gun in somebody's face, you put a knife in somebody's face, you do something, you punch somebody in the face, you get attention real fast. All of a sudden, you are extremely significant to that person. In the grand scheme of things, it's probably better off to have a little bit of a paradox there, where you realize that in the whole universe you are not significant whatsoever, but to you are the most significant thing that will ever exist. So like a little bit of a paradox there, but the point of this was like a communication thing. It was me wrapping my head around how to communicate with people, because people don't think of their health as a finite thing. They think like, oh, I'll just be like this forever. Subconsciously. Consciously, they're like, yeah, I know it's all going to end. It's all going to end, you know. But they don't invest in the things that are actually going to help them be able to run around when they're 90. And to me, like when I look at health, man, I want to be strong to the bitter end. I want to be walking around doing my thing and then one day just drop dead. I don't want there to be any interruption in how I live my life, and that's why I go and I work out. But if you just give everybody the picture of what they could be when they're 90, nobody gives a shit because it's so far off. It seems like forever away. Even if you're 70 years old, it's 20 years away. But so like, how's a 35-year-old supposed to put that in their head when they're trying to do all these other things? So this was a note about communication, and about how if you want to affect people, you have to talk about how it affects them in the here and now. And when it comes to pollution, I don't think it's about climate change. Like it's a stupid, like like just to be real, it's a dumb argument. It's not about the pollution is not about climate change. Like making it about climate change is not the immediate risk factor anyway. And and the skeptics are like, it's understandable that they'd be skeptical. The ramifications of pollution are what it's doing to little boys and what it's doing to little girls and what it's doing to you, because you are being affected too. You much less than the little ones that are coming along, and your parents and their grandparents less than you. But we're seeing, you walk into any high school, you will see boys' shoulders are much more narrow than they used to be. Boys don't have chest hair anymore. It's weird. And I didn't have, I mean, like, I'm like fuzzy now, but I wasn't back then. And you're seeing girls with broader shoulders and narrower hips, bigger Adam's apples. Like, girls are producing more testosterone in their bodies, and boys are producing much less testosterone in their bodies. Sperm counts today of people below 40 years old are half of what they were in the previous generation. That's a big deal. That means that like infertility is going to be on the rise, and you can go with the population thing. I think the world is kind of figuring out, if you think of the earth as like this living, breathing thing that is going to self-regulate, then I can see how the earth, like an earthquake, is it scratching its own back sort of thing. Then I could see how one could wrap their head around an idea where the earth is self-regulating human population. I don't know if that's the accurate thing, but like trying to get people to not pollute the earth and screaming climate change is fucking stupid. Relate to what is happening now. Right now, it is affecting my body, it's affecting your body, it's affecting all of those that you care about bodies, and it's affecting little kids more than anything. And I think that you're seeing that more and more and more, and probably some of the mental health stuff that is coming out right now that is undeniable. I mean, some people are trying to deny this thing that we don't have like a cultural issue around mindset. Kind of, I don't want to call it disparity. Nobody's a victim, but there's something going on here. Calling it climate change is stupid. Positioning it as, hey, it affects you right now is smart, because it does. It really does. You wouldn't sit and suck on the tailpipe of your car because you know that it would harm you, but you walk outside, and I guarantee you that there are things that you are coming in contact with on a daily basis that are affecting you on a minute scale, but over the course of time they become big. I think that that's how we would need to communicate it. I didn't mean to go so long on the climate change thing, but that's kind of funny. Anyway, what time are we at? I know that I went a little bit over there, but anyway, you guys can tell me if you liked hearing little ideas and going through like the random pull the card from the deck. Obviously, I got a bunch more. This was the stack that we went through, and this is the stack that I had just sitting on the desk. I could pull a notebook off and just go through like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages. But anyway, it's Friday. It's a beautiful day. I'm actually meeting a friend and asking him to read through my book to make sure it all makes sense. And I hope that you guys grab one of these when it does come out. But for now, we have t-shirts at Grit Gym. We have Lift Like a Mom t-shirts that are pretty sweet. And we have Product of a Strong Female t-shirts that are awesome. Anyway, they're $20 at Grit Gym. You guys can go pick them up there. And we can mail them to you, or you can just stop into Grit Gym and grab one. But anyway, thanks for being here, guys. Really appreciate it. Please slap the share button, send this out to everybody you know. And we'll be back on Monday.